10 unexpected niches that actually fall under the B2B premise. I often talk about the difference between B2B and B2C, especially when it comes to marketing. There are different forces at play depending on whether you're running a B2B campaign or a B2C campaign. For example, in most cases, B2C is direct to consumer. You have a funnel that's directly selling to customers. In B2B, it's longer transaction cycles. Some of the deals take 8 months, 12 months, 18 months, and more. So it's different mentalities and different mindset. When you think of B2C and especially direct to consumer, we're often talking about working directly with our buyers, promoting on TikTok, on Instagram, getting a purchase right off the bat, having paid ads that are directly leading to a transaction. But it's a different realm when we're thinking of B2B. However, there are 10 specific industries that are often confused with B2C, or in other cases, there are different realms of whether a specific industry or a specific type of business actually falls into B2C or B2B. So we're going to review these 10 right away. Number one is e-commerce. So that may be surprising, but if you think about it, that's actually how it works. When you sell to e-commerce businesses, in many cases, we are talking about e-commerce platforms, wholesale marketplaces, payment vendor providers, app extensions, SaaS vendors working in the e-commerce ecosystem. So if you have a client that's directly selling goods to customers, well, then obviously they're doing B2C work. However, in most cases within the entire e-commerce ecosystem, there's so many other providers that are providing services to other B2Bs as well. Once again, payment gateways are one of these examples. A payment gateway is rarely used by a consumer itself. You need to set up a payment gateway for a specific business that is in turn selling their products, goods, or services to other people. So that's kind of one example. Platforms like Shopify are actually B2B because they need other stores, which is registered customers, LLCs, or other organizations to set up and sign up and actually use their platform. So that's kind of one other example of how the e-commerce ecosystem is actually far more B2B than it normally looks. Additionally, when you think of that, there are lots of other B2Bs that are selling retail or wholesale. Even if you think of Nike as an example, even though you as a consumer going to a retail store are acquiring a Nike pair of shoes or any other brand for that matter, you are in fact thinking of Nike as a brand that is in most cases working directly with wholesalers, with retailers. So they're performing a B2B transaction with a high volume of stock that's happening out there. Same goes for suppliers, for warehouses, and everyone else involved in the industry. So when you think of the broader picture of e-commerce, even though the most common way to think of direct to consumer is e-commerce transactions, someone selling something cheap like candies or soda pops or anything else, in most cases, the e-commerce ecosystem consists of B2B businesses bundled together. Number two is the publishing field. Why does that happen? Well, a publisher, when you think of a magazine, you are thinking of someone serving their readers, and it is kind of a direct-to-consumer transaction. It's a business to client, especially when you think of memberships where readers are potentially going to subscribe and pay $1 a week or $4 a month or $10 a month or so for a subscription tier for a magazine. But in many cases, these publishers are actually making money off of sponsors. So the main revenue driver for most publishers are sponsorships. And these sponsorships are coming from other businesses. In that case, we're talking about advertisers. So when you think of banner ads or popping ads, display, wallpaper, whatever type of ads you're thinking of, the main revenue driver for most publishers out there is advertising, and this is coming from other businesses. So in turn, publishers are a B2B business in itself. Again, there are different trains of thought, and there are indeed some publishers that are entirely business to consumer. All of their revenue comes from consumers directly. They're not charging businesses, but you can also think of all of the other examples where the main revenue driver for these publishers is in fact other businesses. Additionally, you can think of tech publications or industry journals, the CIO type of magazines, other that are turning and are solving problems for other businesses. So in that case, it's also a B2B transaction. And the main upsell mechanism is also expecting to turn readers into clients. But these readers, in that case, is going to be the organizations because you're talking directly to the C-suite. Number three is digital services. Think about the main names and hostings, right? In most cases, you're thinking about an individual who is buying a hosting, like a photographer, or a blogger or someone else buying hosting. But most of the time, when you are selling hosting or domains or any other like email services, you are serving an organization which is hosted with a specific product. So they are paying on behalf of the company. They are charging it as a company expense to an LLC or to another organization. So all of these, even though they seem like small transactions and kind of low ticket, low cost items, that doesn't mean that these types of services and solutions are not, in fact, B2B transactions. So when you think of that, you can actually consider that entire space a B2B marketplace that's serving other businesses, organizations, corporations, universities, governments, other agencies as well, providing these services and products, freelancers who are also registered as kind of solopreneurs or other businesses. In turn, it's still a B2B transaction when you think about it. Same goes for digital asset platforms and other SaaS solutions, let's say e-signature tools and all of the other digital services or productized services as SaaS solutions that are B2B in their nature. Number 4 is education and training. When you think of education, once again, it looks like a B2C transaction because you think of a university, the university is serving students. The students are potentially paying their bills and all that. But thinking of the education industry in itself, in most cases, it represents corporate training providers, universities that are charging corporations for sponsorships or for internship programs or getting donations from larger firms. So lots of e-commerce organizations, certification vendors, corporate training providers, some of the other companies that are providing training materials, they are all serving in a B2B capacity. So there are lots of angles from the training, the educational ecosystem that are in fact B2Bs, even though you're thinking of an educational institution providing services to an individual. 5, events and conferences. In a similar fashion to education, when you think of events, you're thinking of gathering 1,000 people together, oftentimes individuals, buying their own ticket and attending this event. However, when you think of how are events making money, in most cases, they're either charging companies to buy corporate sponsorships and potentially sending 10 people from their teams to an event. And you're also thinking of sponsorships, of booths, of paid sessions, of other catering firms, and so on. So, in fact, event management and event organization is a B2B business in its nature. So, once again, next time you are looking into the B2B landscape, definitely don't miss out on considering the event space as one of the larger segments and the larger areas of providing B2B services at large. Number 6, logistics and supply chain. Think about freight forwarding services or warehouse management services or other services that are technically providing a manufactured product or shipping goods from one point to another, but the vast majority of their revenue is actually coming from larger organizations, from warehouses, from wholesale, from retailers, shipping goods from point A to point B from different organizations. Let's say a manufacturer is sending something to the production facility or the main product company, and that's in fact considered to be a B2B transaction in itself. So even though you may be shipping something and with like a DHL or UPS or so as an individual buying something, or you are buying something off of Amazon and expecting it to come from their services, in fact, it is a contract from Amazon to the delivery service or from any other organization to the delivery service as well. So all of these consolidated solutions, even though people also use them, again, you can order something or you can buy yourself a flight ticket. Many a time they are charging large corporate high value contracts to other organizations to provide services at large. Number 7 is financial services. When you think of financial services, you may be thinking exchanging money at the exchange desk or going to a bank as an individual pulling money from your savings account. However, think about all of the other B2B contracts, right? Because banks and other institutions are also serving companies. So the vast majority of their revenue or their profits are also coming from companies. Additionally, you have payment processing for businesses. You have specific payment plans. You have business insurance. You have business legal services, corporate expense management tools, kind of business credit reporting agencies. All of those consolidated insurance and financial providers and just kind of banking services, the vast majority of them are serving businesses as well. So once again, you may oftentimes work with a business and consider that specific business to be a B2C business in its nature, but in some cases, either half of the business is providing B2B services or the vast majority of the revenue is actually coming from large businesses versus individual providers. Number 8 is human resources. Once again, human resources is fairly trivial. So you're thinking of recruiters and hiring jobs. So it's serving specific individuals one by one. It doesn't seem like something that B2B, right? Well, who is hiring recruitment first? It's other companies, and they are paying a commission fee or a finder's fee or recruitment fee or any other sort of affiliation or a combination between a retainer and kind of a commission fee for headhunting. And in all of those cases, the vast majority of the revenue for recruitment firms or employee management providers is coming from businesses. So every recruitment firm out there is first and foremost a B2B business in itself. You can also think of employee benefit management systems, workforce analytics tools, and other employee management providers, including for taxes or 401ks. And all of those are primarily serving the employers and not the employees. So that's a vast difference when you're thinking of human resources, as whether that's actually serving B2Cs or it's a B2B business in its nature. Number 9 is other professional services. Think about legal platforms for law firms, or think about law firms in itself. What do you think represents the bigger chunk of revenue for law firms? Is it the individual cases that they're serving, or is it serving the high ticket blue chip Fortune 500 companies? Same goes for accounting software. Accounting is something that is provided to companies because it is necessary to do your tax returns and filing reports and all of the other expenses and credit and debit statements for the IRS. So accounting firms are also serving them. Consulting firms too. All of the McKinseys and Deloittes and Accentures and all of the other ones are serving businesses. So it's the B2B transaction. So oftentimes when we are thinking of services, don't think of a plumber coming at home or someone else who's like doing some housework in your garden. In most cases, when we're thinking about professional services, we are actually serving other B2Bs here. And number 10, manufacturing. Again, manufacturing in itself, even though you can have a 3D printer or be providing something yourself or kind of doing a DIY project, the manufacturing services is B2B in its nature. They are working with warehouses, working with contract manufacturers. They're building custom components also, and these components are being used in kind of other areas. Let's say if you're doing zippers, you're going to work with fashion firms and with interior design firms to be able to kind of package them and sell them wholesale. So all of these are also providing businesses as B2B in itself. So bottom line, there are various industries that you may be thinking are providing B2C services, but in fact, their core value proposition and their kind of biggest chunk of revenue is coming from B2B businesses, or they're also tailored to B2B businesses. So when you're considering your marketing strategy, do not treat these companies as B2C campaigns going on with, let's say, a Facebook ad, TikTok ad, or so, expecting them to buy something off you. Treat them as B2B businesses with their corresponding B2B best practices for launching your campaigns. That's it from me. If you like this, hit like, subscribe, comment, and ask any questions for B2B businesses you can think of.